Hey everybody, it's Eric from EPautos.com, your libertarian car guy. Good news, I managed to find a new old version of the crappy camera that I'm using right now that will at least have a non-blurry image. The reason for that is I tried getting one of those GoPro things. The problem is it's got a million different buttons, and I don't like a million different buttons. I like on and off, and when I do my videos I like to press start and then stop. And the little GoPro thing had all these tiny little buttons that have all these additional features that I don't need and don't want to mess with. Very hard to operate. And in addition to that, I found that if I start talking for more than, say, a minute, the thing will break up the video into multiple segments that I then have to merge. And bottom line, it just ends up being a big pain. I didn't want to have to deal with it, so I went on eBay and I found the same thing I'm using now, except hopefully without the blurry image. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about this morning was something I just sort of stumbled on in the course of looking over the paperwork of the last vehicle that I test drove and wrote about, which is a 2025 Ram 2500 pickup. And it comes with what's called a Monroney. And that's just kind of car jargon, car industry jargon for the window sticker. And the vehicle manufacturers always provide these things so that car jockey writers like me can look at the options and the standard equipment and what they charge for all of those things. And that's been around since 1958, when a senator from Oklahoma backed a federal requirement that new cars come with these things and show the manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP, because prior to that time, when you went car shopping, you know, the car dealer would just basically vaguely tell you what they were going to charge for the car, and you really had no way of knowing, at least not easily, what the manufacturer recommended the car be sold for. So that's the backstory to that. Well, normally these things just have the standard and the optional equipment and the price and all of that. Well, this Ram came with a Monroney that has an entire portion of the sticker, the entire top fourth of it, devoted to something that is called performance, emissions performance. That's what they call it, emissions performance. I love the terminology that they use. You know, they always kind of hijack it to make it sound as if it's something that's desirable, kind of like the way they talk about EV fast chargers, as if sitting around at a Sheetz parking lot or Walmart for half an hour or more somehow is fast. Anyway, what do they mean by that? Well, of course, what they mean is, how does it perform with regard to the emissions of carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas? I find that fascinating because, as you probably have heard by now, and this is an important thing to know, out of the entirety of the Earth's atmosphere, about 0.04% is carbon dioxide. That's what's out there. And there is a tinier fraction of that is emanating from the exhaust pipes of vehicles with engines, and we're supposed to believe that that's causing the climate to change. Meanwhile, they say nothing about water vapor, which is a far more abundant and far more potent greenhouse gas, and I get into that in my article that's up on the site. But anyway, in addition to gaslighting you about the performance as far as the emissions of new vehicles is concerned, the other really interesting thing I saw was that this is from the California Air Resources Board. And that's a bureaucracy in California that sets particular environmental and other regulations pertaining to vehicles within the state of California. I got to wondering about that because, hey, I'm in Virginia, and in this case the Ram that I test drove has Michigan plates, Michigan registration, because it's a manufacturer-owned vehicle, and the headquarters of Ram Trucks is in Michigan. So what is California doing putting this stuff on the sticker? Or what is Ram doing putting it on the sticker? Well, what it amounts to is that California has acquired a kind of de facto control over the rest of the country. And here's how it works. About, a third of the states out there have mirrored the regulations that have been emitted by the California Air Resources Board. And that ends up being kind of a supermajority in the sense that the car manufacturers aren't going to just like make vehicles for California and for California mirroring states and then another batch and another bunch of Monronis with different information for the vehicles that they sell in the other states. They're just going to make California compliant vehicles nationally. So that's what's happened here. California has acquired de facto control over the entire United States new vehicle market. And you may have heard that the Orange Man did something about that. Well, actually, he didn't, at least not meaningfully. All he did was to challenge and revoke, at least for now, the sales mandate that was imposed in California, whereby vehicle dealers would have had to sell nothing but electric cars by 2030 or 2035. I can't remember which date it was. So yeah, he rescinded that, though of course it could be reimposed anytime after he is no longer the president. But the real important point to understand is that he's done absolutely nothing to rescind the federal regulations that effectively force the manufacture of electric vehicles. It's a really important distinction to be aware of. And CARB's regulations are still in effect too, and these have the effect of controlling what can be manufactured, and that's why you're seeing all this stuff on the Monronis now. Anyway, there's more over at EPautos.com, the web's best libertarian gearhead site. Hope you'll swing by and take a look, and I'm off to hunt some more clovers.